Hey guys, this episode of the Great Indian Podcast is brought to you by the Anchor app. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's completely free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so that it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more platforms. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. What's up, India? Namaste, and welcome to another episode of the Great Indian Podcast. I'm your host, Dev, back with some quarantine content, some quality quarantine content, some positive quarantine content, because positivity is the need of the hour right now, because so much amount of negative information, negative news is being circulated around the major news websites, news blogs, news articles. Everything's so negative sides. Like, okay, this is something which needs to stop. I want to make something which focuses on the positive sides, because yes, there are positive sides. If you're wondering, no, how can something like as crucial and as serious as like coronavirus, which sort of threatens the existence of mankind, have positive sides? Well, if you're thinking like that, my dear friend, you are actually wrong, because there are lots and lots of positive sides of these things. With that being said, that's what I thought to do. So grab a bottle of beer maybe, or if you're like me who doesn't drink, maybe just grab a glass of water, or a bag of popcorn. Jokes apart, these are seriously bad and dark times that the whole world is going through. In fact, I know my name of the podcast is Great Indian Podcast, but this is something serious. This is something which has something to do with the whole world. Definitely dark times are going on. As I'm recording this podcast, today is the 25th of March. Yesterday evening, that's 8 p.m, our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji actually came online and announced a 21-day lockdown period that will last till the 14th of April. So a lot of time to spend, a lot of time, which is actually a good thing. I'll come to this in the later part of the podcast. But okay, so I want to first of all explain you how this whole podcast is going to be structured. Okay, so I know I started with something saying that it's going to be positive, but let me explain. Okay, so I believe that anything and everything on planet Earth is not white, or it's not completely white, it's not completely black, contrary to the popular belief that that's how people actually generally try to think and try to believe stuff, that this is completely white, this is something which is completely dark. What I mean to say is that like nothing is fully good, nothing's fully bad. Okay, what things are, what each and everything is, or in any person for that matter, is actually grey. So that being said, I think I'm gonna make this podcast with a tinge of grey. Actually, that's the best way I can put it. Starting with the negatives. What are the negatives I can put? Come on, like, people are dying. Obviously, this is something I'm very grieved on this. That obviously the negatives are the negatives are so big that they completely outweigh the positives that are happening. But there are positives. If you think like there's nothing positive on this situation, there are positives that are happening. Obviously, the first negative point can be that, as I'm recording this podcast, almost 20,000 people have died worldwide. 20,000 people, that's right, 20k. Okay, to be precise, right now as I'm updating, it's 19,650 people who have died. Terrible news, obviously. But but yeah, there's a good point to this. As I said, there's a black and white. Nothing's black and white. The gray is that. Good part of this is that about 4 lakh 30,000. Let's say it's almost 5 lakh. Accurate number would be 4,30,313 people as of now, as I'm recording this on 25th of March. Is that 4,30,313 people have been found to be coronavirus positive. Actually, no, it's the name of the thing is actually COVID-19. I'll come to that in a bit. Are found to be COVID-19 positive, and recovered patients are 1,11,875 patients. So yeah, so many people have actually recovered. So there's your positive point. Obviously, there's so many deaths actually happened, but yeah, there's your positive point right over there. And another negative point is that, by the way, before I move on to the next point, I would like to point out something which a lot of people are making mistakes, is that the name of the virus is coronavirus, and the name of the disease that's caused due to the virus that this coronavirus causes, the disease, is called COVID-19. Okay, please don't sort of mix those things up. Like, the name of the virus is not COVID-19. The name of the virus is coronavirus, and the name of the disease is COVID-19. Also, one more funny fact is that just yesterday only I received a fake news. By the way, guys, please do beware of fake news right now. I don't know why people just keep on forwarding all these fake news on WhatsApp messages. Please don't do these things. There's like a funny incident I would like to share, is that I received a fake news that COVID-19 is the name of a gas which will be sprayed on. I live in Kolkata, West Bengal, so which will be sprayed. COVID-19 is the name of a gas which will be sprayed on the whole Kolkata city from 12 to 5. That's like 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. With the help of 5 helicopters. Imagine. Okay, all those things apart. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. That COVID-19 and coronavirus. With that being clear, another virus actually has emerged from China. Good heavens, yes. That is not something good. I mean, come on. The name of the virus is actually Hanta virus, which is not a good virus. Which is obviously it's not a good virus, which is not a new virus apparently. Hanta virus has been around since 1950s. If you don't know, so the Hanta virus is actually something which I also suspected. This was a image which was forwarded to me by a friend in WhatsApp. And I first thought that, okay, this is probably just another fake news, just to increase the panic amongst the common people, among the masses. But I did some digging online, and it turns out that it's actually true. And one person has actually lost his life because of this virus. But Hanta, the name of the virus is actually Hanta virus. Sorry. By the way. No, I don't have coronavirus. I'm sorry, I don't have COVID-19, and this is just I'm just thirsty. I don't have water. I don't have a bottle of water in the room I'm recording. So this Hanta virus is actually not a new virus. It's actually been there since 1950s during the Korean War, and this is where actually it originated. But what scientists are suspecting is that this new Hanta virus is actually a novel Hanta virus, that is a mutation. For example, coronavirus also, fun fact, is also not a new virus, right? So this is actually a part of a family of viruses that has been there since long time. Last major outbreak that we saw was SARS. SARS, if you remember, was actually a major outbreak that happened in China. Once again, China's name comes in the forefront. Is that during 2003 to 2004-ish, SARS was a major disease that happened. Now, another thing is actually MERS, which you may or may not remember, is actually called, its full form is Middle Eastern, it's Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, and SARS full form is Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome. So that's why we informally call it as coronavirus, but the official name that scientists have given to this virus is actually severe acute respiratory syndrome, COV2. That's SARS. That's coronavirus 2 actually. So the full name is SARS-CoV-2, severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus 2. Coming back to Hanta virus, right? Hanta virus has been around since 1950s, 1960s. That's the Korean War. And what scientists are suspecting is that it's a novel Hanta virus. It's a mutated version of it. And fun fact also, once again, is that how this name Hanta virus came. Hanta virus actually comes from the name of the river Hantan. It's because last time such a major outbreak was actually seen from the years 1976 to 1978. That is near Hantan River in South Korea, and that's how the Hanta virus actually got its name from. And the disease that it causes is actually hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, that is HPS. And why I'm talking more about hantavirus is because everybody knows about coronavirus. And also, I don't want to talk about like the history and the geographics of the coronavirus. That's where it originated. Everybody knows it originated in Wuhan, in the Hubei province in China, and it has no cure as of now, and blah blah blah. Everybody knows those things, but hantavirus is something new which nobody knows about. That's why I'm actually talking about hantavirus, and it's also falls in the negative category, obviously, because it's another virus. I mean, come on, the whole world has not even recovered off the coronavirus, this whole crisis that's going on, and China is like, yo, here's another virus for you. Hantavirus causes HPS, hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. And now I'll tell you why hantavirus does not have that much of a big potential of becoming a pandemic like coronavirus did. And the reason being that the recent death, that's actually yesterday, as I'm recording this episode, yesterday one person lost his life because of hantavirus, and this actually took place in the Yunnan province of China, which is situated in South China. Now, South China is the place where not a lot of population is, where not a lot of people live. Majority of the population in China is actually in central and the eastern. That's right, the central and eastern region. That's where Hong Kong is, and Beijing and all these places. So, and also all the industries and all these factories lies. If you compare it with coronavirus first outbreak took place obviously in Wuhan, as we all know, which is in the Hubei province. Now, Hubei province is in central China, and it has a lot of population in it, living in it, and that's the reason why coronavirus spread so rapidly. And Yunnan province is in southern part of China where not a lot of people live, so it's obvious that not like the spreading will not be as fast as compared to coronavirus. B is that coronavirus is something which spreads on air, so it's a bioaerosol, right? So it spreads from human to human, compared to hantavirus, which spreads from rodents to human, that is rats, mice. I in my opinion, this will be much easier to contain, because the obvious answer would be to control mice population, rat population. So just a simple pest control should do. This is generally spread by if a rat bites you, or a mouse bites you, or if you're living near a rat, or if like rat's feces is there and if you're living near it, there's a high chance you would catch hantavirus. But just make sure those things, and that will be fine, which is obviously way easier than how hard coronavirus is to contain. So that's the reason why hantavirus is like this. Now, coming to the positives, the positive side of coronavirus, and whatever is happening in the world, whatever situation is happening in the world, is good news is that coronavirus has now a vaccine. Yes, that's right. Coronavirus is, there are over 400 different types of companies and institutions that are testing a vaccine on coronavirus, but there's a particular company, which is actually not a company exactly, it's like a government as well as a private company, both have collaborated together to create a vaccine which has shown really robust antibody production against this virus. And that's why the first ever human testing of this vaccine has started, and it took place just about a couple of weeks back in Seattle, United States of America, Seattle. And the name of the vaccine is mRNA 1273. So M stands for messenger RNA. RNA, as we all know, ribonucleic acid. So messenger RNA is like the name of the vaccine which is being tested. It's the first ever vaccine to be tested for coronavirus, novel coronavirus, what's happening right now. Fun fact, coronavirus, the name coronavirus, where it comes from. Did you know where the name coronavirus originates from? So obviously, if you all know, as I told earlier, that an official name of this is SARS-CoV-2, but the informal name that we all call it is coronavirus. So how this name came from is that when scientists for the first time saw this virus under an electron microscope, they saw virus. Imagine like a ball, okay, like a tennis ball, a cricket ball, whatever ball, a sphere with spikes all around it, and imagine that in 2D. So when they saw it, they sort of related it with the sun's corona. So what sun's corona is that the sun's rays, right? Whenever you look at the sun has like rays coming from the sides of it, right? It's known as corona of the sun. So that's how the name corona comes, and the word corona actually in Latin means crown. So obviously in India we have mukuts. Mukuts are there, which are not like crowns at all, but crown. This whole crown thing actually was there in Europe. So yeah, the word corona means crown in Latin. So if you think about that in that way, this virus literally means crown virus, or you can even call it the king of virus, because a king wears crown and crown virus. So never mind, I'm just freaking out. So that's a fun fact. Also another fun fact, quarantine. The word quarantine, right now everybody's this word is being thrown around a lot. In quarantine, we are under quarantine. I'm currently under self-quarantine. The whole world is forcing everybody to stay indoors. Hashtag stay indoors is a very trending on Twitter. It's a very trending hashtag on Twitter. So the word quarantine actually comes from the days of the Black Death in Venice, which is wonderful because I'll talk about it in a minute, but the word quarantine actually comes from the days of Black Death, which actually comes from the word quarantina, which in Latin means 4. Actually, it's not 4. It's actually 40. Quarantina. So this, if you think about it in that way, quarantine matches with the word quad, right, which is 4 in English. So basically, quarantina in those days, when the Black Death took place, that's a legendary European plague that took place. And as you may or may not know, that Venice in those days was a very big hub. It was a very big port in those days. So ships from all around the world would come to Venice, and during those days the ships had to wait outside the port for 40 days, and they were observed. And if somebody would have the symptoms, they would be treated, and you get the point, right? So right now quarantine is for like 21 days because the incubation period of this virus is about 14 to 21 days. That is, you will not see any sort of symptoms until 14 to 21 days. But in those days, it was considered like 40 days is safe. So that's where the word quarantine comes from. It comes from the Latin word quarantina, which means 40. As I was speaking about Venice, right? Good news about Venice is that Venice, is a very big tourist attraction, as we all know. And as we all know that Venice and Italy and Greece, these are three places which are very close to each other. And obviously we all know what unfortunate scenes are emerging from Italy. The worst outbreak right now, the epicenter of this whole outbreak right now is actually Italy. So and as a result, there are there are no tourists that are going to Venice. So as a result, what happened is that I saw photos of this in social media. Is that the canals? The Venice is a city which have less roads and more canals. So the canals over there are crystal clear. They're absolutely clear, and you can actually see the surface of the ground that's below. And this is actually a wonderful sight, because this is nothing has actually occurred in the last decades, a few decades or so. And Venice, Venice canals were actually so congested because of all the tourists who used to use boats and stuff to travel, and because the whole place is actually under lockdown, so the people have seen swans and dolphins like swimming around here and there. So that's the beauty of nature. When human beings actually sort of leave it alone, nature takes over, and that's how beautiful nature actually is. And speaking of beauty, once again China's names come to the forefront, and that's because the Chinese airspace, actually not airspace, the Chinese atmosphere, if you know that Chinese atmosphere is actually one of the worst when it comes to air pollution. So now obviously after the outbreak in China, almost the whole of China was under lockdown, and as a result all the factories, all the roads were shut down, all the schools, colleges, everything was shut down. So, and people were not getting out of their homes. So as a result, NASA actually saw a drastic fall in terms of air pollution, about 40% to 50% fall in air pollution in about a month. So last time it was seen in the month of February that there was a drastic fall of about 40%, and the atmosphere was far more cleaner. So we can, in a positive note, say that this is actually Mother Nature's way of cleansing itself. So yeah, that's that actually. So then that's actually a very good news, because less pollution means it's better for us. Beijing is actually one of the most polluted cities which have cleaned itself a lot because of this lockdown, unconsciously. So yeah, just leave everything as it is, and it becomes beautiful once again. So there's something we can learn from Mother Nature itself. Speaking of positive things, one very positive thing which I'm actually seeing right now is, and actually it's very interesting to see something like this, is that just move back a month. What do you see in let's forget about the world, let's see India. India was facing major problems because of the Delhi riots that took place. About 18 odd people lost their lives because of this. People were actually fighting amongst themselves. That's actually Hindu-Muslim fights going on in northeastern part of Delhi, and that was extremism, obviously, and people were fighting between Hindus and Muslims, and that, as I said, it was extremism. But apart from that, the whole of India was also against the government because of CA, NRC, and of course the Kashmir issue, and the whole India was actually in a very pandemonic state. No, not like this pandemonium. I'm talking about in a very chaotic state. But cut to today, March 2020, what's happening not only in India but around the world? Everything is absolutely calm, and the whole world has actually emerged to fight against coronavirus. And as I said, that was something about India. In a worldly state, if you look at the US and the Palestine issue that was going on, and a lot of global problems were going on, which have absolutely ceased to exist when mankind's existence is being questioned right now. So I mean, this actually shows how fragile our existence actually is. And I mean, I'm not talking about mankind's existence. I'm talking about the fake existence, the fake reality that we have built around us. The lines, the imaginary fake lines that we have drawn on Mother Earth's face, that is in the name of borders, and we are so-called protecting our borders, that I have, and so-called fake identities of caste, religious sects, creed, all these things. I am an Indian, you are a Pakistani, you are Chinese, you are American, you are British. Ultimately, what matters is that we all are human beings. Now, of course, so much amount of racism goes on, not only in terms of skin color, but I'm an Indian, and obviously this is the Great Indian Podcast. So we all know how fucked up the whole caste system in India actually is. I'm a Brahmin. I mean that though is obviously there, that I'm Indian, you're Pakistani, you're Bangladeshi, you're Chinese, you're American. Those obviously exist. But even inside a country, I'm Hindu, you're Muslim, you're Buddhist, you're Jain, you're Sikh. These types of things already obviously exist. And then if you go to central part of India, there's like Punjat hai. The Punjabis are like so proud to be Punjabis, and they sort of look down upon South Indians, and the South Indians are so proud that we will speak our own language, we won't speak Hindi, and all these types of different things exist, but people actually forget who we really are. And this situation, this scenario should be a gentle reminder to us who we really are. We are ultimately, at the end of the day, we are human beings, and we sort of dilute the whole thing by creating fake realities, fake identities of us, that we are so and so, we are XYZ. I'm an Indian, I'm Bengali, I'm Marwari, I'm a Jat. So yeah, you get the point, right? So that's an amazing thing, and a very beautiful thing to look at. The world uniting together, and the world becoming one, and fighting against this virus, and something as feeble and as microscopic as a virus can absolutely shake the roots of humanity. Absolutely, like, it's amazing to see these things actually happening in front of my eyes. Another very ironic thing which is actually taking place in the world right now, and which I feel like is actually very funny, is that Indian customs are right now being re-looked upon as the time unfolds. So one of them obviously is quite obvious, and we have seen photos of Donald Trump and Prince Harry, Prince Charles, and the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II. So many political bureaucrats around the world are not shaking hands, obviously, because you're not supposed to touch each other. You're supposed to maintain a distance of 1 meter or about 3 feet. So they are doing the Namaste gesture. Exactly. And that is something which is quite obvious, which everybody knows by now. Everybody's on social media, so we've seen all those photos, and everybody's like Donald Trump to all those dignitaries, all those big bureaucrats around the world are actually opting this Namaste gesture. So like, not touch each other. Then a lot of things are there which scientists are actually proving, which was like previously looked down upon us by Westerners. First of all, as I said, was the Namaste gesture. Secondly, was actually the concept of drinking water from a bottle without making sure that your lips are touching the mouth of that bottle. This is very important, because let's say some person drinks from a bottle of water by like touching the lips of the mouth and the mouth of the bottle together. You get the point, right? And he has got some disease, and after him I drink from that bottle of water, then there's a high chance that that the disease will actually get transmitted from that person to my body. So yeah, this is something which is like, obviously it's very common, and it's very like a minute detail of life of an Indian, but this is also something which Western world scientists are actually looking upon, that the Westerners should also integrate something like this into their lifestyle. Now, another thing which is funny is that in Western world we see that people don't take shoes. I mean, that's serious. I'll tell you why. In India, whenever we wear shoes, we wash hands afterwards. Like we are done like tying the shoelaces, we wash our hands. But this is not the case in places like USA and UK and the whole of Europe, which is a problem because the surface. I'm not talking about the surface below the shoe, but the above surface of the shoe also contains a lot of microbes, a lot of bad microbes. So that is actually also a good practice of hygiene. Then there's also another thing which I don't think is not that necessary. I'm sorry, not necessary. I'm talking about is not that significant to this. But after any you attend a funeral, you're supposed to take a bath in India, and this also makes sense, obviously, which is now as it's being approved by the Western scientists. It's suddenly all of a sudden everybody's looking up to it, but Indians have been doing this for over thousands and thousands of years. Then that's because let's say a dead person, if he or she has died from Japanese encephalitis or malaria or dengue or something like that, let's say something which is very contagious, which can also transfer to you as well, right? Because you just went near the body of the dead person. So taking a bath after attending a funeral is mandatory in India. So yeah, these are some of the things which the Western world is actually looking towards India right now, as sort of a small gesture to find a cure towards coronavirus. Now the next thing which I'm actually gonna talk about might be a little bit controversial, which I know a lot of people are actually frustrated about, and that is home quarantine. Pretty much everybody I know, my friends and my family and my relatives, everybody is frustrated that this is not like something which we had expected. My question to you is that, bro, everybody around the year basically looks forward to holidays, and they throughout the year they are always complaining that I don't get enough holidays, I don't get enough off days. Now that you have a full month full of almost 1.5 month full of off days, what the hell are you doing? Now I get it. Whenever there's a holiday planning, there's a lot of hype regarding that. You plan so many things. So I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. This is not something like it's like poof, just apparently it just happened, and that's why a lot of people are actually overwhelmed. But think about it. This is actually a very golden opportunity of growing yourself. Don't just sit there idle. Don't just sit at your home doing nothing. You got a lot of time till 21st. That's obviously 20 days, because this is going actually tomorrow. So yeah, let's say about 20 days you have time, and 20 days is a long time, my dear friend. You can actually use the time. You can utilize the time to grow yourself. Don't just binge watch your all days. No. And many people are actually looking at it in a very negative perspective. Please don't look at it in a negative perspective, because think about it. If you live away from your parents, now is the time. I'm hopefully you are at home, so you are getting home cooked meals, meals that are cooked by your mom. And as we say in Hindi, bhai maa ke haath ka khane ka maza hi kuch aur hota hai. So yeah, enjoy those meals. Spend more and more time with your family. Who knows whatever happens in the next moment. Nobody knows what future holds, right? So enjoy this moment. Just spend more and more time with your family. And just don't look at it in a very negative way. People are saying, "Oh, I'm frustrated." That's a very negative way to look at it, because this is for the betterment of the whole of humanity. If you get frustrated and you get out of your home, that can wreak havoc on your whole entire family, especially for your elders. Another little tip I would like to just put in is that if you are the younger in your whole family, obviously you have your mom and dad in your home, I would suggest, please make sure that your mom and dad are inside home, are indoors. If somebody have to go outside for groceries and stuff, it should be you. It should be or maybe if there's younger than you, it should be you who should leave the house, not your mother and father, because they are elder. And I'm saying this based on statistics, because the higher death rates have been seen in people who are about 50 or 60-ish. So they have a higher chance of catching the disease and obviously losing lives. So make sure that they stay indoors, and you should be the one who obviously you cannot stay home, practically speaking, because you have to get your supplies, you have to get food, you have to get the regular stuff which you need to live. So obviously if you want to go to the supermarket or someplace like, it should be you, not your parents. Obviously in this time of a pandemic that's going on. So yeah, look at it in a very positive way. Another small thing is that don't just sit idle, as I said, in your home. For me personally, I am actually I read a lot of books. Okay, so and I read a lot of books, but I do not watch a lot of movies. I have a Amazon Prime membership, which is now coming to use, because I don't watch a lot of movies at all. So now what I just switched my reading routine. I'm still reading book stuff, ebooks and audiobooks and all, but I'm actually watching a lot of movies. I'm having a wonderful time. I'm having home cooked meals. I'm inside my home with my family. What can be better than this? And come on, people who are frustrated. If you are feeling very lonely, very frustrated, I would say just sit down. You don't have to sit in in a cross-legged position with your straight spine. Just forget those yogic Baba things. No, I'm not talking about those things. Just sit in a chair, maybe with a spine erect, and just breathe in and breathe out. Do it for a couple of minutes, and you try to just focus on your breath. I can promise you, after a couple of minutes, on the other side, you're going to feel way, way better. And just practice breathing exercises for avoiding anxiousness and anxiety. That's like a tip that you can actually follow. And of course, if you do yoga and stuff, that's very good. Just do 5 to 10 minutes of jogging and stuff inside your home, or maybe you can just jump around and stuff, because if you're lying down or just sitting at a place for all day long, it's not very fit for your body. So yeah. And another positive thing is actually this whole situation itself. It's not a positive thing actually, but this whatever is something I'm going to say right now. I want you to listen very carefully. If you don't understand whatever I'm saying, or if you just get offended, I would request you, please listen to it once again to get the whole idea of what I'm trying to say over here. Please don't backfire, please don't comment, and please don't start disliking if you're listening on YouTube. Please don't do these things, because this actually makes sense if you think about it. So let me start from the beginning, okay? So we are living in such an era where if you're born in early 2000s or 1990s, medical science is so advanced right now that medical science says that we are gonna live a life of 90 to 100 years. Right? Now the problem with that is that, and obviously it's a good thing, right? Life expectancy increasing is a great thing. The problem with the whole mankind right now is that we have taken the death in our own hands, but we have not yet taken the birth in our own hands. That is the birth rate, and more and more people are actually born each and every year, but less and less people are dying each year, which is resulting in an overpopulation. Now, I know that many people say population is a good thing if you can cultivate it in a good way, but now once again this word exists. If we cultivate it, if we give a certain population the right kind of education, right kind of healthcare, then they will grow up and they will contribute to the nation, and which is something we have actually seen in China. China is the most populous country on planet Earth. And we can see how it has actually cultivated its own population, and now we can see the results. China is it's the third largest economy on planet Earth, and we can see India's feat, which is the second largest country on planet Earth, and obviously I don't have to exaggerate on what India is going through right now. I mean, in terms of every single way. So no, I'm not dissing India by any means, but what I'm trying to say is that we have taken the death in our own hands, but not birth in our own hands. So now the problem is that if we live a life of 100 years, retirement is at 60 years, assuming everybody, a majority of you guys will do jobs and not businesses. Majority of people, will retire at 60 or 65. Let's, for the sake of this episode, we'll take it as 60. We are living a life of 100 years. So the next 40 years of your life, you are not being productive. You are not working, but still you are actually living off of pensions, right? You are getting pension. You are getting amount of money from the government. Now, where do you think this pension is coming from? This pension is coming from those people who are working, who are actually the contributing population of the country. Let's say India for that example. The contributing population of the country is working day and night, and they're paying their taxes, and from that taxes, the pensions are coming. But the problem is that the pensions are going to that part of the society which is not exactly contributing. So they are sort of dragging down the whole economy. Now, this whole COVID-19 disease that's happening mainly affects those people, actually kills those people who are older, who are about 80, 60, 70, 80-ish people. And of course, if you have a very weak immunity, if you already have a disease, then it hits you harder. If you, for example, I was reading that if a person smokes, then there's a 10% increase in chances of that person dying with coronavirus, with COVID-19. So if you think about it in that way, this whole outlook is actually a very positive thing, because this sort of resets the economy. I'm not saying that death is a good thing, but this is just a perspective, this is just an idea, this is just a theory. Once again, as I said, this is something which is just a theory, which is just a thing which I think is actually a good thing which is happening for the economy's sake, because when the government does not have to give pensions to old people, because they are the old population is actually decreasing, so the contributing population is actually increasing, which is a good thing. As I said, jo bhi hota hai achhe ke liye hota hai, as we say in Hindi. And this may sound barbaric at first, but think about it. And if you still don't understand what I'm saying, please do re-listen to what I just said. Don't attack me. I don't understand these things. And if you attack me, I'm just feel free. Feel free to contact me if you just don't understand what I just said below in the links that are given below of my social media handles. Now, moving on to the next point, we have a wonderful example of Japan, and also China itself. This podcast is actually has a lot to do with the country of China. But India should actually learn from China, because in the past, China in the past couple of weeks has registered only one case. I'm talking about new cases. China obviously is, as we all know, the epicenter of this disease, and China actually has registered only one case of this coronavirus in the past couple of weeks, and they actually, and as I'm recording this podcast, about an hour ago, they actually have eased the whole situation of lockdown in China, in the Hubei province and all those places where it was affected in a terrible way. India has a lot to learn from China, because they were very disciplined. Chinese government took this thing very seriously, and as well as the Chinese people, because the government can be very strict, very much interested in whatever is going on, but if the public does not understand whatever is going on in India right now, a huge number of people actually don't give a damn. That's why as I'm recording this episode, in the past 24 hours in West Bengal, actually it's been almost 24 hours, almost 300 people have been arrested for not going by the law. And this is very serious, guys. If you get arrested, you can get a fine of $1,000, or there can be a jail period of 6 months. That's actually a non-bailable offense. I don't exactly remember which section of the constitution it was, but it's actually legal thing. Or it can be both. That's you have to pay $1,000 and go to jail for 6 months. So please stay indoors, and this is for your own benefit only. This is for the benefit of your family only. So yeah, India has a lot to learn from China and as well as Japan, as I was speaking, because Japan has the most number of old age population in the world. If you compare that with India has more than 50% of its population that is below the age of 25, and more than 65% of the population that is below the age of 35. So yeah, I mean, it is expected that in 2020 the average age of an Indian will be 29 years compared to 37 for China and 48 for Japan by 2030. India's dependency ratio should be over 0.4. So these are the factors which actually make India the youngest country in the world, which is actually the country with the youngest population on planet Earth. I mean, think about it. 50% of its population is actually below the age of 25, under 25. That's a huge, that's a very productive population, and if we can manipulate this, the population, if we can channelize this population in a right way, it can be very, very beneficial for the country. But yeah, moving back to Japan can be a very interesting case study when it comes to COVID-19 outbreak, because Japan could end up being the worst case, because China, as I said, I'm just constantly saying China, sorry for that. Japan actually has the largest old age population on planet Earth. So, but they actually took precautions beforehand, and this has actually something to do with its own culture as well. Like Indians, we have Namaste, right? Japanese people, they have bowing system. I don't know what they call it, but whenever they greet each other, they just stand at a distance from each other and just bow. And that's the reason why they do not have a lot of contacting issues. B is that if you ever visit Japan, you will see everybody, almost 90% of the population, wear surgical face masks or something or the other to cover their masks. And because this is something which is integrated to their culture since the outbreak of SARS. It's not SARS. Since the outbreak of the H1N1 influenza back in 2009. So yeah, this is, and that's why Japan has reported only about 10 deaths, which, I mean, obviously 10 deaths is also not a lot of people have died. But then if you compare it with Italy has the second. Italy actually stands second when it comes to old age population, right after Japan. But obviously Italy has seen worse days compared to Japan. I mean, Italy is actually right now the epicenter of what's going on around the world when it comes to coronavirus pandemic news. And yeah, with that being said, I would like to end this episode, but with one last segment of this episode that's actually called "Don't Be That Guy." So yeah, here goes. Don't be that guy who is like, oh, I don't give a damn whatever's going on around the world. I want to live my life because it's my life. I'm assuming you're below 25 or 25-ish. And I've seen a lot of these types of posts that no, I have very strong immunity. I have eaten I've eaten shit literally, and yeah, this is something I actually saw. No, not shit, maybe. I've eaten so many rotten foods and nothing has happened to me. I have very strong immunity, and no, I don't give a damn. I mean, come on, it's my life. Who the hell are you to say? Who the hell are you to lock me inside my room, inside my house? Please don't be that guy, and I'll explain you why. First of all, because let's say I'm assuming you have a very, very strong immunity, right? Nothing will happen to you. But if you get the virus, let's say you go out in like a shopping mall, you go to a restaurant with your friends, your party, and one of your friends actually has got a coronavirus positive, and he doesn't even know, because obviously, as I said, the incubation period is about 14 days. So like even if you get the virus, you won't have the symptoms until it's like too late, until it's like 14 days. So you go and you hug your friend, you dance with him probably, and when you come back home, you have contact with your parents, with your driver. Maybe you're traveling on a car, you have contact with your driver. Maybe you're traveling on a public transport, on a public transport, which is far more dangerous, because we are actually meeting way more people than that of like a private car. So and in the way you're actually transmitting the disease to a lot of people. So we can actually call you a potential threat to the existence of mankind. Does that sound good now? I mean, does that sound very something which you want to become? I guess not. And if that's yes, well, you need a mental checkup, my dear friend. But those things apart, please don't be that guy. And once again, don't be that guy who is always frustrated that, oh, I'm fucking like inside my room, I feel so overwhelmed, I feel so bad, I feel so bored. Please, I mean, there are way bigger problems going on planet Earth, and nobody cares what you do. But no, that's actually a rude way to put it. As I said, as I said previously, there are so many things you can do, and this should be taken as an opportunity of doing something. Think about all those JEE aspirants, all those joint entrance examination aspirants, all those IIT JEE aspirants, JEE advanced aspirants, all those UPSC aspirants, all those CAT aspirants. There's also an exam called CLAT. I don't know what it is, but yeah, there's so many competitive exams in India, and their lives are basically a quarantine. Obviously, they have a mission in life. If you don't, well, I would suggest watch movies. Think about it. We are living in such a time where we have internet. We have internet services, and right now we have Jio, and internet is also not even that expensive. We have telecommunication services. Once upon a time in the world, when lockdowns were actually very frequent. Think about Nazi Germany. Think about Nazi era Europe. They also had frequent lockdowns, and just imagine how life would have been back then compared to right now. I mean, this is not even war footing. Come on, this is just a precaution. And if we can live in a very peaceful way for these 21 days that are yet to come, I'm talking about staying indoors. Staying indoors, we can do so many activities. As I was saying, if we can live inside, if we can stay inside for 21 days, we will come in a much powerful way, in a much fitter way on the other side of the 21 days. And as I said, there are so many activities you can do. And in this day and age, pretty much everybody has got Netflix subscription. I don't have. If you're that rich, you have Netflix subscription. I'm a poor guy. I have Amazon Prime Video subscription. So I'm actually watching Big Bang Theory on Netflix. And sorry, not Netflix. I don't have Netflix. I said I am watching Big Bang Theory, just streaming now on Amazon Prime. And just binge watch stuff. That's good, that's fine. Obviously you can binge watch, but I would suggest watch something which adds value to your life, which unfortunately not a lot of people don't do. People are more interested in vlogs which actually do not even add value to life. Watch stuff which are informative, which will help you succeed in life after these 21 days are over, because this is something I feel like is a once in a lifetime opportunity to grow yourself. Consider this as God's gift to you, that the God is giving you like these 21 days, just like poof, and just sort of on all those people who make use of these days will come out way stronger than the rest of the world on the other side. So yeah, dear world, also don't be that guy who just starts quarreling with police officers that I'm out for some recreational purpose. I'm out for a walk. I mean, this is something which actually I saw just yesterday in front of my house. Like a couple of boys, I think they're friends or brothers, I don't know. They were walking. They were just strolling. I mean, just seriously, bro. It's a lockdown situation in the whole world. Whole world is panicking, and you are just out strolling. When the police ask them, "What the hell are you doing outside? You have to go home right now." And they just started quarreling with the police officers. I mean, come on. Think about those police officers. think about those doctors, think about those nurses. They do not have a holiday. You are having a holiday. Technically, you can take it as a holiday. No, I mean indoor holiday. Obviously, you cannot step out of your home. Think about those people. I mean, they are sacrificing their holiday. They're sacrificing their and in fact, I can say they are risking their lives because they're outside their homes, controlling the all the things that are happening around India, and making sure you stay home so that you are fit, so that you do not catch the disease. And I have to say that our Indian government had actually succeeded in doing it and implementing it in a pretty good way. But there's also one more thing which is actually there, and that is a research that just came out of MIT, which is about this coronavirus, the linkage between coronavirus, novel coronavirus, the COVID-19 disease, and its weather, the local weather. Now, why this is important is that they have seen with the help of observation is that this virus, the novel coronavirus, the coronavirus actually grows, or it's more powerful and it's more easier to spread in countries which have the temperature from 5 degree to 11 degrees Celsius, and this has been seen in all parts of the world. Fortunately, and that's why I would say India has actually a better chance in sort of ducking this virus. Is that because India actually has got its temperature obviously way above 11 degrees. I mean, in India, where I live, for example, I live in Kolkata, so Indian weather is such that in winters we touch like 10, 11-ish. So it never goes down below like 10. Sometimes I mean, if you look at places like New Delhi, where the frequent temperature during winters is actually single digit. But I'm talking about right now, the temperature is just not even close to 5 to 11 degrees Celsius. So the virus actually, if it goes above 11 degrees Celsius, its potential sort of goes down, and whenever the virus goes below 5 degrees, and even if it goes to minus temperatures, it also like the whole potency of this virus to spread also goes down. And with that being said, I would like to end this episode by saying that this is not the end. Please don't panic. This is not something crazy. This is not something like in the apocalypse, as many people are actually saying that this is the end of the world. And with another second virus being introduced by China, and obviously not consciously, that is Hanta virus, people are freaking out that this is the end. This is the end. What the hell is gonna happen to us? Please don't freak out. This is not the end. And this obviously will go on for like next 3 to 4 years, obviously, and that's obvious because of the spreading, and because of the weather is gonna go hotter, the virus spreading is actually gonna decrease. In the meantime, we're also gonna have a antidote to the virus. Actually, no, it's not. It's like a vaccine to the virus, and apparently, as one scientist was actually saying, is that about 70 to 80% of the Earth's population will get this virus at some point. So yeah, brace yourselves, because next winter this is gonna come back. So yeah, I'm not here to scare you. So yeah, with that being said, please guys, please, I'm also requesting, like Prime Minister Modi ji, please stay indoors. Please don't leave your house until and unless it's very essentially, until and unless it's very something very crucial. For example, I have a relative, my uncle actually has symptoms of coronavirus, so he lives in New Delhi, so he has been taken in quarantine in hospital. So his daughter actually has to go to the hospital. If that's something like that urgent, or if you have to go to fetch medicines or something like groceries, you should go, not your parents, because obviously your parents have a much higher chance to catch the disease. Don't be that guy who does panic buying. In this type of crisis, in this time of in this dark time, panic actually comes in many different forms. One of them being panic buying. Look, I understand that there's a lockdown currently that is being levied on India. But it is not war footing. This is not some kind of a curfew. This is not some kind of a riot that's going on, that all the necessities. I'm talking about basic necessities will be taken away from you. All the grocery stores, all the medicine shops, all the necessity items are actually still open. So please stop doing panic buying. I've seen, actually my neighbor's house. Actually, I was seeing that she went outside and she basically just got a ration for 1 full month. I mean, this does not make any sense. You are not going on war footing. This is not World War III happening. I mean, and in spite of the fact that government is repeatedly saying that all the basic supplies, basic grocery stores, everything will be open, still people just do not give a damn, and they just keep on buying and buying and buying. So please don't be that guy. Please don't do panic buying. Now, second sort of form of panic is actually panic loss. It's called panic loss, which is that when people see that something like this is happening, they freak out, and they suppose, let's say you invest a lot in stock markets, you invest a lot in share market. Whenever you see that something is going on, market is going down, obviously market is absolutely floored itself right now. It's absolutely gone. It's devastated. The whole economic condition of India is currently fucked up. It's gone absolutely. But just don't be that guy to just sell each and every stock you have. Oh my god, I just start freaking out. And also I've seen people taking out money from ATMs because they just think that just in case all the banks also collapse, just like Yes Bank, something which happened with Yes Bank. Also, I know that our financial minister, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, actually announced that for the next 3 weeks, all the ATMs will be open, and it doesn't matter how many times you withdraw money from them, there won't be any extra additional charges, which is, I would say, it's sort of a good and a bad thing, but you have to be conscious enough to not withdraw money out of panic. Everything is fine. As I said, we are gonna recover out of this in a matter of months, for now, obviously. Also, panic's another form is actually fake news sharing. Fake news sharing. Please don't be that guy. Don't be that guy who receives something in WhatsApp which seems kind of fishy, but you're like, oh, this is something I need to. And also these guys are so smart. They actually write below that share as forward as received. Sorry, it said forward as received in blocks. And you see it and say, oh my goodness, this is something I have to share, and you share it or you forward it to all your groups and close contacts messages, and this is how fake news gives birth to a rumor, which is a bad thing. Please don't do these types of things. Whenever, you have to get this in mind, that if you're reading something on WhatsApp, there's a high chance, 99% to 100% chance that is fake news. Or if you feel like, okay, that is fine. For example, I got the news of Hanta virus on WhatsApp, and I first thought that it was fake news, but then I did my research. So you have to be conscious enough to go and do your research, that is it fake, is it okay, is it right, and always trust credible sources like WHO. WHO is a very credible source. You can always go and have a look at their website. I'll actually leave their website down below, and there's also a panic number if you feel like there's something that needs to be reported. For example, also there's one more malpractice that is happening, is people are actually selling hand sanitizers and masks at a very high price, which is not right, obviously. Please don't do this. If you're a seller, this is not right. And if you are as a buyer, if you're going to a shop for buying masks for your family and for your loved ones and for yourself, and you find that they are increasing the price, there's a price inflation, fake price inflation. Please don't hesitate to call the number that I'm actually providing below, and inform authority, maybe dial 100 and inform police authorities about what's happening over here, and they will immediately take action because this is something serious. Also, speaking of myths, as I also busted myths on the Hanta virus previously, I would like to request you, and since we also have a lot of time in hand right now, we have almost 20 odd days. I would like you to request to listen to a podcast link that I'm going to share down below. It's called the Joe Rogan Podcast. It's a YouTube link. I know that not a lot of people know who Joe Rogan Experience. Just leave alone that people listening to the Joe Rogan Experience. He is probably the best podcaster on planet Earth, and he has this wonderful podcast with a scientist, with a science guy. I don't know who he is. I don't know if he's with World Health Organization or not, but he's a credible, a legit source of information, and his name is Michael Osterholm. Please do listen to him. Also, speaking of Mythbusters, I also learned from that podcast that surgical masks are actually useless until and unless you are using N95. That's a type of mask which is very rare to find and which are actually pretty expensive compared to normal surgical masks. It's actually useless to wear masks, and I'm saying this because a couple of days back I was just looking out of my window. I saw a couple of guys wearing a handkerchief over their face, and they're going, that is not going to help, guys, come on. So yeah, and with that being said, always hashtag stay safe and stay indoors. And make sure to subscribe if you're watching, or actually no, you're not watching. If you're listening this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, like, and if you like this, please do share it. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts as Overcast, please, if you liked it, please rate us 5-star. And it's much appreciated. And if you would like to suggest something for this quarantine content series, please do make sure to comment it down below. And make sure to follow us on Instagram at @thegreatindianpodcast. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at thegreatindianpod, and you can email us if you have any new suggestions, anything to say about improvement and stuff. That is thegreatindianpodcast @gmail.com. And with that being said, stay safe and always remember to be the great Indian. Jaihind. Thank you.